Yes, this is Myron Grace, host of the Midnight Hour Radio Show, and we're talking tonight about George Floyd. George Floyd and what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis, Minnesota, George Floyd. It's a terrible thing that happened with George Floyd. Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, George Floyd, if you ask me, should have never been arrested. Should have never been arrested. George Floyd. We're talking about George Floyd. Myron Grace calling from the Midnight Hour Radio Show. You know, I was wondering sometimes why some black men are considered stupid. I mean, I never did understand that. It's been perplexing to me for a while now. Why are some black men considered stupid? That's the question that I'm asking today. Why are some black men considered stupid? I'm not sure. I'm not sure why some black men are considered stupid. But one thing for sure, and two things for certain, why are some black men considered stupid? That's a good question. And let's talk about that. What would make a person consider a person stupid? A thing that would make a person consider another person stupid is something like, for instance, if they go to school and they don't do their schoolwork, for instance, and they don't try to obtain an education and they try to take the easy way out. Maybe that's some of the things that may make people consider someone stupid. Maybe someone not paying their child support would make them seem stupid. I don't know. Is not paying child support considered to make a person seem stupid? Is waiting on a welfare check like some black people do, not all black people, just some, waiting on a welfare check without being working. It's thinking that you can get over in life without working. Stupid? That's a good question. I wonder, is thinking that you can get through life the easy route, never have to break a sweat, don't pay taxes, is that stupid? I'm not sure. Let me know your opinion, Mrs. Ruscsak. Why do some people think, Melissa Ruscsak joining the conversation, why do some people think that black men are stupid?
Well, it's not that they're stupid, but we've created a society where we're dependent on the government. We're dependent on welfare. We're dependent on food stamps. We're dependent on having handouts. So we make it easy, and this isn't for everyone. I'm not talking to everyone. But there is a misconception if you're on welfare, you're on food stamps, that you don't have to work, that you don't have to get off of that eventually. And there's so many people abusing the system, and then because they're abusing it, have the $150,000 house. They don't have the expensive cars. They don't have the things that you have to work for and break a sweat, so now you're in a cycle.
Right, the cycle. But what makes the cycle continue? Like with George Floyd, he went to high school and was a football star, but he ended up being involved with drugs and crime and stuff like that. Why would somebody who can go to the NFL become a drug dealer? That makes no sense. You know, you can go to the NFL and make millions of dollars, but you'll risk all of that to be able to sell drugs. How does that make sense?
It really doesn't make sense unless they're trying to get the easy route to get the money quicker than the working for it. Or that's their perception, to get the money quicker. But you look at, we have, within the last couple of years, there was a rap artist, I forget his name, that was gunned down, and he was a drug dealer. When it all came said and done.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was so. Go ahead.
It's just we are in a culture where, one, the punishment for dealing drugs doesn't outweigh anything else. We're not punishing them enough for them to fear not doing it.
Right. I think that we should force drug dealers not to try to be stars, but we should force drug dealers to get an education and go to college. We should force drug dealers to learn a different skill set so that when they come out of jail, that they can find something else to do rather than just sell drugs. What would you say to that?
Exactly. It comes down to education. Everything that's going on comes down to education right now. Education in inner city schools suck. Education in regular public schools sucks. So what do? We have dropouts. We have people that don't pay attention in school because why? Why do we have to pay attention in school?
So do you think the solution is that why they think a lot of black men stupid is because they don't have that education, especially the ones that hit the streets or do criminal activity? Is education become the determinant of whether or not somebody's considered stupid in America right now? What do you think?
It's becoming the reason because we have, if you go to an inner city school, I'm going to talk about Cleveland for a minute. You go to Cleveland, you have a lot of kids standing on the streets. Where's the parents at during the school hours? Are we making the kids go to school? Are we making them accountable in school? Are we letting them slip by? Okay, they're in the building. Are they actually getting an education? What are the grades? But yet we're still passing them even though they're not doing the work.
Right. So have we pushed the limit on education so far that now we can pass children and push them forward, even if they're not doing the work? Have we made the work so easy? Have we lost focus on the purpose of education? Is that why they consider black men stupid or any lower socioeconomic class stupid? Because we've pushed the bar so far, I think anyway, Melissa, with education that now the people who can achieve, they not even getting a chance to achieve because they been let by without doing the work. So we turning out a race of idiots. What do you think?
Exactly. We have gotten to the point where if you participate in school, you get a certificate. We have dumb certificates for just about anything that's at the classroom level. It's not longer perfect attendance or straight A's or merit. Well, you show up, you're getting a certificate at the end of the year for something. It may be not a politically correct certificate, but you're going to get a certificate for something, so no one's left out of the festivities. You have... That
makes no sense, right?
Exactly. If you're playing a sport, this started when I was in school. Even the losing team gets a trophy or a medal or a ribbon or something for participating.
Right. You know what I find extremely incredible is that so many people say that they want to see this change. But where are they now? Like, we'll have some shows where it'll be a lot of people, other shows only a few. What do you think?
We need a change in the education system. We need a radical change. We need to get the political propaganda taken out of our history classes. We need to teach history as it was actually recorded, not the political propaganda that they started putting in starting around 2003, 2004. Certificates and stuff. We need people to be accountable for what they're doing. Not everyone gets certificate. Not everyone is going to pass. You pass based on the merit of your work, not on the merit of just showing up.
Caller, what's your opinion on this? Why are some black men considered stupid and expendable? Caller, are you listening? The mic is open for you. Well,
are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to expand just by saying your first name, only your first name?
This is Cotton.
Cotton. So in your opinion, Cotton, what would you say is the reason why they consider some black men stupid?
When you say we, what do you mean by why do when you say
no,
they?
I didn't say
we.
I said why do people in general? Okay, for instance, they consider it was a time when I was sitting with a Supreme Court Justice of Ohio, a Supreme Court judge, and I was sitting with a municipal court judge and a Republican chairman, and they said certain black people are expendable, especially the ones with no education. Why do you think they said that?
Some people
What's your opinion?
Feel how they feel. So, there are people out there that just feel how they feel. You can't change it. We're not talking about, when you say they, you're talking about the white race, or you're talking about just people in general?
People in general. Even if you go in a black neighborhood, you'll find some blacks that'll pass through the neighborhood and be like, it's a difference between a Negro and a nigger. So do you understand? You see that all the time in the movies now. You see people talking about it on the streets. What's your opinion, Melissa, too? Give us some input real quick, Melissa.
It's people in general are perceiving the men as being uneducated. What are we doing? We're dropping out of school, especially if you're over 37 to 45. Okay, I'm going to go with my generation. You have the guys that have dropped out of school. They have lower paying jobs or no job at all, and they're not working to do anything better. They're on the street corner selling the $20 bag of whatever, and that's how they're making ends meet. They're not trying to elevate themselves.
What's your opinion, Cotton?
It goes.
What do you think?
First, everything starts at home. So what are we teaching our young men? What are we doing? They have that, and I'm glad this topic came up. So you have Black Girls Rock. But what do you have for our black men to honor and celebrate them? They're not celebrated, and they're being murdered in the streets by everybody, not just cops, not just random white people, but even by the hand of their own. You have this going on, but we never there's no big, huge platform to say, let's celebrate our black men, let's celebrate our black boys. Why is that? They're being falsely accused of rape. They're being falsely accused of all types of things, and still we haven't, and they're targeted every single day, and we have not yet to try to celebrate them in any kind of way, to uplift them, to let them know that they're just as important as black girls, as black women. Instead, we're making them feel like they're less than. So why are they looked upon like that? Because a lot of them aren't interested anywhere. If you don't feel that I'm important, why should I feel that I'm important? If nobody else sees me as being the king, why should I see myself as a king? No one's teaching them that, and yet every day it's being displayed that, you're expendable because you're not as important as the black girl. You're not as important as the black woman. You very rarely see a black man accusing a black woman of doing something that she didn't do, and she ended up in jail or murdered behind it. You very rarely
Well, my
see that.
question is, Cotton, is what about self-pride? What about having the drive to succeed on your own, even if some people don't want to? Wouldn't that motivate someone to want to do better? Or is that a reason? Is that an excuse?
It should. It's not an excuse. It's basically a fact. Have you seen a platform that celebrates black men?
Let me give you an example, Cotton. I just was riding in the car. A black guy got his headphones on a green light, walked straight in the middle of the street. Didn't even look. Now, what if I would have hit him? He walked out into a green light.
Mm-hmm.
He's more interested in listening to rap music than he is in paying attention to the street to see if he gonna get hit by a car. What do you think about that?
Because no one's taught them any differently. It gets on my nerves that some black people think that they are better than the next black person, or that they're the most important thing in that moment, and that's because that's what they've been taught. It goes with the same thing where me and my kids could be walking down the street, and walking down the sidewalk, and one of the things that I always taught them is, if you see somebody approaching your way, and there's a group of us, we form a line to let the next people pass. We don't make that. It's the same. It's like you're the only person that owns this sidewalk. But you got to be courteous enough to let the other people pass. He ain't been taught to be courteous enough to say, hey, you know what, let me pay attention to what I'm doing. Instead, it's all about me in this moment because no one's taught them that. My kids still practice the same thing today, and they're adults. They still practice that if they're walking down the street. They still practice that common courtesy, which is a lot because adults aren't teaching it, because adults don't practice it. Their children are picking up the exact same thing. It's not enforced. So if you're not teaching it and you're not displaying it and you're not showing it, it's like the kid that says, well, you smoke, why can't I smoke? Do as I say and not as I do.
So, Melissa, my question is, what do you think about... Well, Cotton, what do you think about that, Melissa, what Cotton just said?
No, she's absolutely right. It starts at home. We as parents have to start with the children with teaching respect. We have to teach them self-worth. We have to teach them to elevate themselves.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're not, and a lot of, unfortunately, a lot aren't doing that. They really aren't. And that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I watch Paternity Court. Mm-hmm. And every time I watch Paternity Court, I look at that and I feel, where some people say, I don't feel bad for the dude. I do feel bad for him sometimes because she knows who she slept with. He don't know how many people she slept, but she knows for sure how many men she slept with, to have this man in court to accuse him of a child that doesn't belong to him, and now he's stuck paying child support for a child that's not his because she said it was his, just to find out later that it wasn't his. This is supposed to be the norm. It shouldn't be the norm. There shouldn't be a whole show based around whether or not you know who the father of your child is. It shouldn't be that. But this is what, and it's mostly a lot of people that are on there, unfortunately, they're black. So I agree.
That's interesting. You're right about that. You're right about that, Con. Majority-wise, most of the people that don't pay child support, a higher majority of black men than white men. Why is that? Why you saying so? So your idea is that it starts at home. It's the parents. It's the parents.
It's absolutely.
So my question to both of y'all is, why did that happen? Why did the parents break down the family?
Too many, just like I said, like these paternity court situations. When I listen to these stories, these girls are out here and these fellas out here just jumping into bed, not even knowing the last name of the person that they sleeping with. Decide that they're going to have a one-night stand, or they think it's going to be a one-night stand, and end up making a baby behind it. and then she goes on to have sex with somebody else in the next week or two. So now she still don't know who could be the father of her kids. Now you have a situation where it's crazy.
So do you think that George Floyd, did George Floyd fall into this trap we talking about? Is this why George Floyd became a drug dealer instead of an NFL player, because he fell into this trap? Is this the trap that he fell into? Did he fall into the trap?
Because his brother was an athlete, so it was a choice. One brother can choose this, and I have two brothers, and one brother went on to play basketball, same situation, and my other brother ended up in selling drugs and ended up in prison for a few years. He's out now, but it's a choice. It's a choice. You choose. You decide which way you're going to go. The crazy part about that is the oldest brother, my oldest brother, who went on to play basketball, still ain't met his father till this day. But my youngest brother, who we grew up in the same household as his father, so it's a choice. You watch what your parents do. You watch how they behave. My stepfather was abusive to my mother. So my brother at the age of 10 was stealing cars already, and ended up in juvenile at the age of 11 or 12. And my oldest brother went on to play for the Kings for a short period of time. So it doesn't even matter if the father is in a home or not, or if it's a two-parent home. It's what are you teaching the child while they're in the home so that they can go on to live productive lives.
Productive lives. So explain, Melissa, what you think about that statement.
Well, it is a choice. I have a friend who's a prominent black man who grew up he was a teenager before he had a home to live in. He was homeless when he started kindergarten. He was living behind a dumpster. He brought himself up because he went to school because they had food. He didn't have parents to tell him right and wrong. He was adopted when I think he was 13, 14 years old. That's when he got a home. But he's a prominent person now down in Galveston. He has his business because he fought for it. He didn't want to be homeless no more. I actually have his book laying around here. But it comes down to a person, we have to go as parents and start there. But at the same time, you can have a mentor and a teacher if the teacher's willing to mentor a student and step in as a surrogate parent, at least for the 8 hours they're in school. You can have those role models, but we also need places like the Boys and Girls Town of America. We need those open.
Yeah.
We need
but my
places.
question is then Melissa, when do men become men and take responsibility for themselves? Why do they need to be pushed by other people? When in my generation, I'm 52. We got life lessons, but we looked at everybody else around us, and we began to develop our own inner structure, our own determination on what we was going to do.
Okay, you're 52.
And we aspired to greatness.
I'm 37. Okay? What's around me for the kids to look up to is the drug dealers on this corner. That's what they're seeing in their communities. It starts with the kids seeing what's around their community. If all we have is the drug dealers and the drug addicts sitting on the stoops, doing nothing, what are we teaching their kids to look up to?
Cotton, what's your opinion?
You got to have, when we were going about, Melissa's 37, but when we were growing up, we had every year, we had Roots. It came out every year faithfully, and no matter what, even though we know we've seen it a number of times, it was something we sat and we watched every time it came on. And it reminded us of what our ancestors some of what our ancestors went through, back in those times, just to not to be angry, but to remember that, look, what they had to go through for you to be able to be at this place now. You should cherish that. You should honor that. And you should try to do better than what they had to go through. My grandmother had to pick cotton. So I've heard those stories. We're missing the grandmother in the home these days as well. Like, you don't have the real grandmother who sits around and you can go to grandmother's house for the summer and the whole nine, and she gonna get you too, just like the neighbor across the way. Now you got these kids thinking that it's okay for them to push old people off buses, to disrespect their elders, to speak to somebody. I'm telling you, when my kids were growing up, they couldn't speak. They would never speak ill to disrespect their elders. They would give me that, Mom, this is what's happening. In high school, this is what's happening. Even after high school, even after they were over the age of 18, Mom, this is what's happening. What do I need to do? Because this is how frustrated they would be that an adult was speaking to them in a disrespectful manner. But when you teach your children, because I taught my kids, no matter where I am, if you do something you ain't got no business, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive 13 hours to come whoop your tail, and then I'm going to come back home. Mm-hmm. And because they believed that, you couldn't get them to do something they didn't have no business doing. Because they knew that Mom, and know to this day that Mom loves them, but at the same time, I'm going to teach you how to be a productive adult. I'm going to teach you the things that you need to learn. And a lot of our parents, because I was a single mom, a lot of these parents don't do that, even with two parents in the home. Every person shouldn't be a parent. Every person isn't ready to be a parent. So when they're not ready, they're not teaching, because they weren't ready to be teachers. They weren't ready to be counselors. They weren't ready to be the chauffeur. They weren't ready to teach the morals. They weren't ready to be the spiritual guider. They weren't ready for any of that. And a parent, you got to be all of that.
Exactly. Where are we putting grandmas right now, or great grandmas? Where's most of our ancestors? They're in nursing homes, right? What if we brought grandma and grandpas back into the house? Why aren't we doing this? Grandmas and grandpas have so much more information in their head. Yeah, they can most of them just sit there, but if they talk, seriously, they can teach us true history, at least history that they went through. I'm blessed in a way to have my grandmother in the house, and she gets to tell my daughter, who's 17, things that she grew up with or didn't have.
Yeah. I love listening to my grandmother tell the story. Even if she told it 15 times already, I want to hear it again.
So my question becomes, it took George Floyd to provoke the police. So why couldn't he control himself? Why did he provoke, knowing that the man already had a predisposed dislike to him, because they had got into it at the club a couple times? Why wouldn't he keep his mouth shut, or like the old folks used to say, keep quiet and move slow when his hand in the mouth of the lion? Why not? Why didn't he do that?
Because this ain't that generation where you have to be quiet. This is that generation where you speak up for your rights. You speak up for what's right. As those people did that were standing around watching this man with his foot, his knee, and his neck, saying, "Hey," they arguing with the police. "Hey, call the ambulance. He ain't moved in a minute. Help him. You got your knee in his neck." This ain't the generation where we can stand back and be quiet. This is that generation where I have the right to tell you that even though you carrying a badge, that you're wrong, because your job is to serve and protect. That means if even by the hand of you if I'm about to lose my breath, I have the right to speak up for that. If I know that if I haven't done anything wrong, I have the right to tell you I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you pulling me over? Why are you apprehending me? Why? I have the right to ask those questions. Who are you to tell me? Because, I was watching Just Mercy today, and there was a scene where Michael B. Jordan was stopped by the police. And he asked the police before he got out the car, he said, I'll get out the car, but tell me why you stopped me. The police officer said, get out the car. He still doesn't want to tell him why he stopped him. He gets out of the car, and Michael B. Jordan again asked, why did you stop me? He slams Michael B. Jordan into the car and puts a gun to his head. Still never asked saying why he got stopped. It's a matter of I'm controlling the situation. You don't get to tell me. You don't get to ask no questions because I'm carrying the gun, period. And I will shoot you if you don't do what I say. And when I see those types of police officers, it tells me that this is how you treat your family at home. This is how you treat your friends, because you have to be controlling the situation. And if you can't control the situation, you're going to find a way to control, which means let me pull out my gun or let me stop you from breathing. He had the right to ask, why am I being apprehended? What did I do? I have the right to know that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Respectfully.
All right. If you know the reaction gonna be bad,
you don't know.
When I grew up in the South in the 70s, me and my mother, we used to travel on the bus, and sometimes we couldn't use the white bathroom, even though I'm from Irish and English and Scottish descent as well, and I mean deep Scottish and Irish and English descent. Why I look black, right? So I was always told that if I couldn't use the bathroom, don't use it. My grandfather even told me that. So, because it would bring more trouble than it would bring good. So my question is, wouldn't it make more sense, and I want your opinion on this, Melissa, for black men to become doctors and lawyers and engineers, and then I want your opinion too, Cotton, and make a change within the system than to be trying to do it from outside the system? You go first on this one, Melissa. What's your opinion?
Theoretically, it would make sense, but in order for them to become the doctors, the lawyers, the police officers, the government officials, we have to have the education piece that we're not getting. We have to take out the anger and teach respect. We have to teach history. We have to teach to be motivated to get to those positions. And that starts at the childhood level.
Cotton, what's your thoughts?
Well, everybody doesn't want to be a doctor, lawyer, or any of that. So you have the other people that don't want that lifestyle. But at the same time, I don't think that's going to solve the issue. When you have racist people out there, you have racist people out there. There has to be a law to protect us from them. I don't know if anybody saw this video, but did you see the video where they pushed this Caucasian older gentleman to the ground and kept walking almost like he was nothing?
Mhm.
Because you can't be threatened by him because he doesn't have a weapon in his hand. He has nothing. These cases are just police officers abusing their power, number one, And then there's some that are racist, period. There's nothing you can do to change somebody else's mind except to change the laws that give them that much power so that they think that it's okay. Like they just killed the black guy in Georgia because he was sleeping in his car. Mind you, he might have been intoxicated, but you didn't catch him driving. It was reported that he was passed out in his car. People go, when I'm tired and I'm on the road, I pull over at a Wendy's, a gas station, and I go to sleep if I don't want to get a hotel room. So you mean to tell me that I'm subject to being shot just because in all reality, it wouldn't have taken nothing but for some citizens to get out their cars and knock on his window to make sure that he was okay and to let him know that he needed to move his vehicle instead of everybody just going around him. But instead, somebody called the police. And now we got another black man dead because he outpowered the police and was running away from the police, and they shot him in the back. How does that make sense? How is us behaving ourselves, so to speak, changing anything? Because even in compliance, as we've seen on live footages, a police officer has shot men and women.
Well, the opposition to what you just said the opposition to what you just said would be, why is it that black men feel like they can take the easy way out and they can just do whatever they want to do? They don't have to follow the rules. They don't have to get a job. They don't have to take care of their kids. They don't have to get an education. Why is that a lot of black men feel that way?
So that's a different topic.
Cotton.
It's how they were raised. You have black men out there. You have black women out there. You have women out there in general who will try to take care of a man because she thinks that if she helps him enough and she does all these things for him, that he's going to be what she needs him to be for her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case because if he ain't already doing it, he ain't going to do it. And if you're doing it for him, you're enabling him, period. It's nothing wrong with you helping a man get on his feet, like a man would help a woman get on her feet.
Mm-hmm.
But when you become the enabler and he ain't trying and he ain't doing, now you're the problem, not him.
Right, and this doesn't just happen with the black men. This is all men, unfortunately.
Right, exactly.
This isn't just a racial thing. This is a across-the-board thing.
That's across the board.
Because we have our deadbeat fathers out there. We have our deadbeat mothers out there. That has nothing to do with race. This has to do with raising our kids. Parents need to step up across the board.
And until that happens, and that's a even bigger issue to tackle because there are so many children that are in the system. You got parents killing their children. You got it's just selling their children off.
Yes,
that's an even bigger issue.
I mean, you have the education problem that's broken. You have the court system with the foster homes that's broken. I can give you cases where the child has died in foster care, where the child has been raped or beaten in foster care, and they're taken away from parents because the house is filthy.
Right.
So we have to fix that too. There's not just one thing that's going to be fixed that needs fixed. There's a whole mess of things that needs to be fixed within our society.
A whole bunch of systems that are broken.
We're taking out right now monuments from the Civil War and before the Civil War. What the monuments are there to show us not to repeat this. It's not there to glorify. It's there to, hey, don't repeat our mistakes.
Right. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, but we're taking them out. We're trying to erase history. Well, history, if you don't teach it, if it's not there in your face, you repeat it.
Yep, exactly.
You want to get rid of racism? Well, you're not going to do it by taking away a monument.
That's profound. What you just said. If history ain't in our face, we'll repeat it. That's a very profound statement. I believe that. I believe that.
I posted something on Facebook today from when the Nazis started occupying Germany. They started erasing the monuments. What are we doing right now? They wanted to erase the history of the monuments. Are we not doing the same thing right now?
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. I don't think that that's the answer. How do we not create another George Floyd? When you think about it, even in a regular situation, if somebody knows somebody is an aggressor, it makes better sense. And even though I think they had a right to say something, it makes better sense not to say something sometimes. I think kids lost respect for adults, and people lost respect for each other in general. That level of respect that we had in the past years is not there anymore.
No, I grew up where if you disrespect someone, you're going to either get a slap across his face or your butt's not going to be able to sit down for a week. We don't
and
have that.
I think men have lost respect for women. I think men have lost respect for women too. And that's the biggest issue, because if they didn't, they would take care of their kids. Do y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Why have men lost respect for women?
There are women out there that make it very difficult for a man to want to be in that space. You know, you got women out there who think that they are the sole owner of the child and that he has no right whatsoever, no matter what he does. And that's because she's angry that he's not with her no more, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you got women out there they're trying to control every little thing that the father does with their kids. So it's crazy, but it's a lot going on in that area too, because the court system have made women think that they have the upper hand over a man, whether he's a participating father or not.
Correct. We have those women out there, okay. I have a family member that was a single father. The court, this is back in the 90s, the court would come down on him because the mother or the grandparents or whatever wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Well, it's the woman's right to do this. Well, no, it's not. We have to have the same laws in force for whether the man's raising the child or the woman's raising the child. It has to be the same.
Exactly. Why is her right? Why is she having more rights over the child that they both conceived together than the father? Why is that?
It boggles my mind.
So I'm going to take y'all back to something called the Willie Lynch Chronicles. This was a slave master's guide to a good Negro or a good nigger. Willie Lynch said you got to divide the family, the man and the woman. You got to make the woman more supreme, and then you have to make the woman part of the white race. What do you think about that?
I really don't believe in the Willie Lynch thing, but people do. So I think.
But you see it.
Some of that stuff is a bunch
it happening, though.
Nonsense, because at the end of the day, you control how things work. You control that. I don't need to go to. I have children, and I don't need to be in court with their fathers. I don't. Period. Because the court wasn't there when we conceived that child. The court wasn't there. The court has no. So all I need you to do is be the father you can. If you can't, I'm going to continue to be a mother. If you decide that you don't want to be a father, then later on in life, guess who's going to have to deal with that? You. Because when your child comes to you to say, hey, why weren't you there, you better have some answers.
Right. Well, my question is, we got 8 minutes. What could George Floyd have done different to not provoke the police officer?
Nothing.
Go ahead. You go first, Kyle.
I don't think he provoked them at all. So there was nothing he could have done different because they show the video at different angles. And you see them complying with them. They walk him over towards the wall. They put the handcuffs on him. And next thing you know, they're in the car, which is what they show, that he's in the back seat of the car, and they're beating on him in the back seat of the car. Now he's out of the vehicle, and now he's on the ground with your knee in his neck. So it wasn't that they were provoked. It was that he was targeted and he was hunted like they do a lot of black men. They hunt them, and then they do whatever necessary to take them out. I felt threatened, so I shot him. But you shot him in the back, so how did you feel threatened? He was complying. He was giving you his ID as you requested, so why did you shoot him?
Well, my question is, what could he have said to the police officer to maybe make him calm down a little bit?
There is nothing he could have said. That police officer was on a mission to do what he did. Period.
My question becomes...
You can't do anything if somebody has a mission or goal and that's what they want to do, they're going to do it. You can't talk them down. The people that could have talked them down didn't do that. They were too busy arguing with the public instead of saying, hey, man, he's not moving. Get off of him. I don't care if you're my superior. I'll lose my job. You about to take a man's life right now. And now all 4 of y'all in jail because nobody stood up for George Floyd in that moment when they could have.
Right. I do believe, though, maybe nobody really knows whether it was a setup, it was a planned thing or not. But I do believe that, I'll just say this to y'all. If I feel like somebody about to hurt me, like if I'm in a position with a police officer or whatever, this is just me, I'm going to play the crazy role, or like I'm having a heart attack, or I'm falling out, or I'm going to start twisting like I'm losing my mind, or something to throw him off from his intentions. Why didn't George Floyd do that, Cotton?
Maybe you didn't see the police officer who shot the handicapped guy. So
no, I understand all of that, but I'm just saying. But George Floyd, why didn't he try to throw him off?
Throw him off how?
But maybe fake a heart attack.
There's nothing you can do. If I'm telling you I can't breathe, that should be enough right there. He didn't care. If he didn't care about not him, the fact that he couldn't breathe, why would he care about him having a heart attack?
See, with the George Floyd thing, it's coming down to the police officer. Him has had the history for 17 years, and they didn't get along at their work. So you already have that. He wasn't going to stop regardless because he now has an upper hand as being a police officer. And this is who he's arresting. They already had that whole drama going on off for 17 years. They didn't like each other. Right. They didn't get along. So that is going to play into this court case.
You got to think about stuff like that. It's like, what could he have done? Nothing. Nothing at all.
Maybe.
Because
maybe not.
Because so think about this. Why did you call to say that you got a counterfeit 20 when you know it's not a counterfeit 20? Because everybody knows that store owners keep that little pin for them to mark the money to tell them whether it's a counterfeit or not.
That's true. That is so true, Carter, right there.
Ironically, the police officer that you have issues with shows up. Sounds like a setup to me.
So my question becomes, on the next show, that's exactly what I want to talk about. What could George Floyd have done, or could he have done nothing? Or could he have done nothing? What could he have done? Could he have done anything, M.L.Ruscsak? Could George Floyd have done anything?
From what I know, what I've seen, and what I'm trusting the media to report on, I don't see anything where he would have been not in that situation. However, there is one key part that did come out recently, and that was the fentanyl that was in his system.
Right. Well, what do you think?
What was it, Melissa, that was in his system?
Fentanyl.
What's that? Oh, I've heard that before. What is that?
That's where it takes less than a drop. It can either make you high or it can kill you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was that in his system. That was on both autopsies, and it just came out to the public a couple days ago. So I'm not saying that he wouldn't be alive with that in his system, but at the same time, if that wasn't there, this is a question, and it's bothering me. The police officer was wrong. All of them were wrong. I will say that right now. But at the same time, knowing that one little piece was in his toxicology, could that have hindered part of his breathing?
You know what's crazy? They done already raised $20 million, and the kids got millions of dollars in the bank, and it's $14 million on GoFundMe and all kinds of stuff. So his whole family rich now. But my question is, why didn't that happen for Breonna Taylor? Why it didn't happen for Arbery, whatever his name is?
Ahmaud Arbery. I said the same thing. Nobody put up this much of a fuss for Ahmaud Arbery, and he was gunned down broad daylight by a former police officer, and nobody was this outraged, and they should have been. And it took them 73 days to arrest those two guys. 73 days.
Right. My on the next few shows, these are the issues I want to talk about. I hope to have more callers. Usually I'm at the computer where I can get people to call in, but I'm actually in a car today. Y'all might be able to tell that. But these are issues that I want to talk about on the next show. Melissa, I want you to give your closing statement.
We have a lot of things wrong with society right now. Education, teachers' respect. We are a nesting pot right now of anger and frustrations. We have to come together as a nation. If we keep on with the burning of cities down, taking over cities, renaming them, we're going to fail as a nation.
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand the burning the city down stuff. I don't understand. But, hey, that's just, maybe that's just me.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I honestly don't understand burning your city down. You're taking away jobs. You're taking away economy.
Yeah. And now people.
Now let me tell you what I saw. I saw on Facebook. They said a lady was collecting food and masks and things like that to go into the neighborhoods where they burn the businesses and grocery stores and things down. Well, why did you burn them down? You know you're going to have to eat. You know you're going to have to buy toilet paper and soap. You know you're going to have to cash your check. You know you're going to have to buy gasoline.
Right. Because in the moment, stupid. Yeah, in the moment, nobody cares. Like, that don't make sense to burn down the city. And then to loot and start stealing. None of that had anything to do with the cause. None of it.
No. That plays into the political aspect more than your cause of bringing equal rights.
Right, exactly.
But we can get into that. Yeah, we can get into that too, Myron, on another show too, because the political aspect of what's going on right now is bigger than equal rights.
Right, absolutely. I think I'm going to try to have at least 10 callers the next show, because I really want to know, why is it that Ahmaud Arbery or the young lady didn't get the same attention? Why was it George Floyd? Why? Because he was a star athlete in high school? Is that the real reason why? Or what was it? Because he wasn't anything other than just another black man that died by the hands of the police. If you look at it from a statistical standpoint, but if you look at it from the reactionary,
his brother is an athlete.
Right. So that may have made a difference too, right?
Possibly.
His brother may have been an athlete.
But they passed the bill for Breonna Taylor. They passed the bill for Breonna Taylor, and I can't remember what the bill was, but I just seen it recently posted up.
It's no knock warrant.
No knock warrant.
Right. Yes.
They banned no knock warrants in Louisville, Kentucky.
Then they did for Trayvon Martin, and then they did for Oscar Grant, and they did for Eric Garner. They did something fast. I think they did something for Eric, passed the bill for Eric as well. I was reading. I'm trying to keep up with all this stuff because there's so much going on.
Right. Well, we want to invite you back, Cotton, but we want to give you your chance to give your closing statement. What's your closing statement, Cotton?
Oh, just instead of everybody talking about it, I think that if you're not one of those people that you're participating in helping coming up with a solution or helping the issue, then you're part of the problem. Basically, that's my closing.
My closing statement is just, we got to wake up, America. We got to wake up, world. We have to become one world, one government, one God. I know that sounds like some Illuminati stuff, but that's the only way that we're going to be able to protect ourselves from oppression and racism and fascism. And that's just my opinion. Until next